I'm going to tell you a story that still messes with my head because it wasn't just some petty neighbor drama. It was a full-blown attempt to bully me off land I legally owned using nothing but confidence, fake paperwork, and the kind of HOA energy that makes grown adults forget how to think for themselves. And the moment that changed everything was one sentence I said out loud right in front of her little crowd that made her freeze like somebody hit pause. So here's what happened. A few months back, I bought a wooded parcel outside a small town in the Midwest. Let's call the neighborhood Cedar Hollow, and let's call my forest parcel Briar Run. It wasn't some manicured park. It's real woods, oaks, hickories, a creek cutting through the low-ground deer paths that looked like they'd been there longer than the subdivision behind it ever existed. I didn't buy it to fight anybody. I bought it because I needed quiet. I'm the kind of guy who spent most of my life being underestimated. Not in a dramatic movie way, just in that everyday way where people talk over you, assume you'll fold, assume you won't push back. I grew up learning that keeping the peace meant shrinking yourself. And after a rough year, I wanted one thing that was mine. No debate, no permission, no committee. The county had the parcel listed as surplus, a weird shape, no utilities, sold as is. It wasn't attractive to developers, which is exactly why I wanted it. I went to the auction, paid clean, got the deed, ran a title search, and hired a surveyor before I did anything else. I did it the boring, correct way. When I finally drove out there with my truck boots and a thermos of coffee, I stepped out and took this deep breath of damp leaves and earth and thought, all right, fresh start. I hadn't even lowered the tailgate when I heard a sharp voice cut through the trees. Excuse me, you can't park here. This is HOA property. No, hello? No, can I help you? Just accusation like I'd already committed a crime. I turned and saw her marching down the trail, neon safety vest clipboard hugged to her chest, hair pulled tight, mouth set like she practiced being displeased in the mirror. The vest had 2 words written in thick black marker, HOA security. She looked like a crossing guard who wandered into the woods and decided nature needed enforcement. She planted herself at the trail mouth like she was a human gate. You're trespassing, she said again louder. This is private community land. You're not authorized to be here. For a second, I honestly thought she had the wrong place. I glanced up at the canopy sunlight filtering through branches, the creek sound in the distance. This was supposed to be calm. Instead, day one, I'm being told I don't belong. I think there's a misunderstanding, I said, staying polite. I'm the owner, she laughed, short and sharp. No, you're not. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a copy of the deed. County seal. My name, parcel description. My name's Evan Caldwell, I said. I bought this land at county auction. It's mine. She snatched it out of my hands. Fast casual, like she was grabbing a menu. That entitlement hit me harder than I expected. She scanned it like she was hunting for a typo she could use to erase reality. Her lips moved as she read. Then her head jerked up. Her face tightened. That's impossible, she barked. That trail is our community walking path. We've maintained it for years. We built picnic tables. We pay fees for upkeep. You can't buy it out from under us. I took the deed back, slowly folded it, and I could feel my patience thinning. Ma'am, I don't know what you were told, but the county listed it as surplus. I won the bid. Clear title. This forest is mine. Her face flushed like she'd been slapped. So you think you can kick us out, she hissed. Here's what's wild. I wasn't even planning to kick anyone out. If she'd come like a human being, we could have talked about access, maybe a limited trail agreement, posted rules, no trash, no fires, daylight hours, something reasonable. But she didn't come like a neighbor. She came like a sheriff. So I said the truth, even if it sounded cold. From this point forward, anything that happens on this land happens with my permission. Her eyes narrowed. We'll see. I walked to my truck, pulled out laminated copies of the deed and survey map I prepared, and nailed them to an oak at the trailhead. Each hammer strike echoed through the trees. It felt symbolic, like I was nailing my backbone into place. Behind me, she gasped. You can't do this. This land is designated for community use. We have approvals. I turned to her. Steady, I'm not in your HOA, I said. I never was. I never will be. This land belongs to me. She froze for half a second, like the concept of someone existing outside her authority didn't compute. Then she snapped back, finger in my face. This isn't over. I'm calling my lawyer. I'm calling the county. We'll see how long your little power trip lasts. She stormed back toward the subdivision vest, flapping behind her like a cheap superhero cape. And I stood there thinking, okay, she'll look it up, realize she's wrong, and we'll move on. 2 mornings later, I stepped outside and found a paper taped to my shed. HOA violation notice. Big red letters. Fine. $425. Unauthorized structure in community green space. Community green space. That shed had been there for years from when the county used the land for storage. But suddenly it was a crime scene. I tore the notice down, and that's when I heard the hum. A drone hovered above my roofline camera, pointed at me like an eye. I waved. It didn't move. I pulled out my phone and it zipped back toward the subdivision. That night my mailbox had a certified envelope addressed to current illegal occupant. Inside was a demand letter on cheap paper with a fake letterhead. Fonts didn't match. Dates were duplicated in the corner like someone copied a template wrong. It claimed I owed 3 years of back woodland maintenance fees and threatened seizure within 10 days. 3 years on land I'd owned for 3 weeks. I sat at my kitchen table and laughed, but not because it was funny. It was that dry laugh you do when you realize you're dealing with someone who thinks reality is negotiable if they type fast enough. The next morning I went back to the trailhead and saw a brand new sign, fresh paint still tacky to the touch, private HOA park. And right past it, wooden stakes marking the boundary of their so-called trail. Except something fell off. I'd looked at the survey map. Those stakes were pushed deeper into my parcel than they had any right to be. Then I noticed it under the leaves, a concrete survey marker, weathered but official county-style old-school permanent. I brushed it clean, took photos, and felt my stomach drop. The marker didn't line up with her stakes, not even close. Someone had shifted the story on purpose. By the time I got home, my surveyor emailed me, "Evan, discrepancies on site. County markers don't match newly placed stakes. Meet tomorrow." That night, just after sundown, there was a knock on my back door. Not polite, nervous. 3 quick taps. A man stood there with a leash in one hand and a phone in the other. Mid-40s, quiet eyes, the kind of neighbor you'd never notice. "Mr. Caldwell?" he asked. "Name's Grant. I live near the entrance. Can we talk privately about her?" He didn't even say her name, but we both knew. I let him in. We sat on my porch. His dog lay at his feet, calm, like it had heard this conversation before. Grant unlocked his phone and slid it to me. Screenshots, bank transfers, HOA fees collected for trail maintenance, flowing straight into one woman's personal account. No community ledger, no receipts, no treasurer. "She's been running Cedar Hollow like her personal ATM," Grant said, voice low. "People put up with it because she makes life hell if you ask questions, but you're not under her thumb, so she's panicking." I looked up from the screen. "How do you have this?" Grant rubbed the back of his neck. "My ex did her bookkeeping. Kept copies when she got pushed out. Said she'd need insurance if the president ever turned on her. After the divorce, she gave me the files. Told me maybe one day they'd matter." He met my eyes. "Guess today's that day." Then he showed me something worse. An email chain with contractors. Talk of development rights. Cabins, wellness pavilions, retreat facilities, all phrased like she already owned my forest. I stared at the trees beyond my porch light and felt something cold settle in me. This wasn't about a trail, this was about money, big money, and she was selling a dream on land she didn't own. A few days later, proof landed in my hands from the most unexpected place, the town pharmacy. The owner, Mrs. Hart, pulled me aside like she was handing off contraband. "My daughter works at a print shop," she whispered. She said something didn't smell right. "She asked me to give you this." Inside the envelope were glossy brochures on thick paper stock. "Professional expensive. Briar Run Luxury Retreat opening soon. Artist renderings of cabins tucked among trees. A glass yoga pavilion overlooking a creek that looked exactly like mine. Couples in white robes holding wine glasses on a deck built right on my ridgeline." And at the bottom, in bold, project director, that same HOA president. "Grand opening next month." My hands started shaking. Not fear, rage. Because if she printed brochures, she had investors, she had deposits, she had momentum. And if she poured concrete before the county moved, it would become a legal nightmare. Then she staged her big move, an emergency community meeting right on my property line, folding chairs, poster board signs. She paced like she was about to host a trial. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, voice carrying into the woods, "our community is under attack, An outsider has illegally seized our forest preserve. Then she pointed at me. This man plans to sell it to developers, clear-cut it, build parking lots. I watched fear ripple through faces. Some of these people were good people. They just wanted the woods. And she was feeding them a story that made her look like the guardian and me like the villain. She gestured to the deed nailed to the oak. Those papers are forged. That's when I stepped forward and said calmly and clear, I have the deed, the title search, the county auction receipt, and the survey report. This land is legally mine. She sneered. Prove it. So I held up photos of the county concrete markers and said, the sentence that changed everything. County survey markers are protected by law. Tampering with them is a crime. And I have video evidence of you placing false stakes after midnight. Silence. Her face went blank. Not angry, not smug. Blank. Someone in the crowd whispered, after midnight. Another voice louder now. Wait, you moved markers. You? The spell broke. Questions started flying. Where are the receipts? Why do fees keep rising? Why don't we have a treasurer? Why is she taking deposits for a retreat? She tried to talk over them, but it didn't work anymore. Confidence collapses fast when doubt hits. A week later, she tried to do the unthinkable. A ribbon-cutting ceremony on my land. Excavator at the trailhead. Balloons. Catering. A banner with the retreat name stretched across a temporary pavilion. Local important people showed up thinking it was legit. She stood there holding giant novelty scissors like she was about to cut the ribbon on my life. She leaned close to me and whispered, all I need is momentum. Once concrete is poured, nobody will tear it down. And right as the excavator lowered toward the soil, sirens, county trucks, sheriff's vehicles, an inspector with a megaphone. The deputy ordered everything shut down immediately, engines cut, guests scattered like roaches under a light. Then the assessor handed me a map and delivered the final twist. The HOA clubhouse, the building she'd been running meetings out of for years, sat 12 feet onto my property. 12 feet. Her whole kingdom was trespassing. She didn't yell, she didn't threaten, she just stood there holding scissors with a shaking hand while her event collapsed around her. And that should be the clean ending, right? Bully exposed. Justice served. Hero wins. But real life isn't that clean. After she got exposed, the neighborhood split. Some people were furious. Some were embarrassed. Some still blame me for bringing drama, like truth was the problem. And the new HOA board came to me quietly and asked for an agreement so they could keep using the clubhouse that sat on my land. $1 a year symbolic plus transparency requirements and conservation standards. I signed it. Part of me wanted scorched earth. Part of me wanted to shut it all down until every stolen dollar was accounted for. But another part of me looked at the families who'd been manipulated and thought punishing everyone forever isn't the kind of victory I want to live with. Still, I'm not sure because she never apologized. She just disappeared. And people like that don't stop. They relocate. So here's my question for you, and I want you to be honest in the comments. Did I do the right thing by taking the deal and moving forward, or did I let her off too easy? If someone tried to bully you out of your own land with fake letters, drones, and glossy brochures, would you choose stability, or would you go all the way and burn the whole operation down? Drop your take below. Right versus wrong, justice versus mercy, community pressure versus personal boundaries. And if you've ever dealt with an HOA tyrant or a neighbor who weaponized the rules to control people, tell your story too. Hit like if you enjoy these moral gray zone battles. Subscribe for more. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is the simplest. No, this is mine.